Hello everyone and welcome to this video lesson. This video lesson is going to go through test 1 for the thinking skills paper and a quick overview of what this paper looks like. So this paper has 40 questions and it should take 40 minutes to complete, meaning that each question should take around 1 minute. So let's move on to the first question. For question 1, on the street that Leanne and Tina live on, the rubbish bins are emptied every Sunday. Leanne says, I am never home on Sundays, so I won't be able to take the rubbish bins out. Whilst Tina says, I have to go out shopping on Sunday afternoon, so I won't be able to take the bins out either. If the information in the box is true, whose reasoning is correct? So what we need to do is consider how long it takes to take out the rubbish bins, which we would assume is only a couple of minutes, and whose reasoning, Leanne or Tina's or both or neither, is correct. So considering Leanne is never home on Sundays, it's clear that she cannot take out the rubbish bins. So far the correct reasoning is Leanne. And if we look at Tina's reasoning, she's saying that she has to go shopping Sunday afternoons. However, this leaves that she could actually still take in the rubbish bins, take out the rubbish bins in the mornings, before or after she goes shopping, right? So for this question, I would say that answer A is correct, Leanne. For question 2, Selena says, I love to sleep in. Getting up at dawn is for the birds. I feel tired and sleepy if it's too early. Which one of these statements, if true, most strengthens Selena's argument? So before we look at the options, let's try to determine what Selena's main argument is. So she's saying that she loves to sleep in because if she doesn't, she'll feel tired and sleepy, which insinuates that if she does sleep in, gets more rest, she feels more rested and energized. So now let's look at the options to see which one supports this the most. So option A, you feel more refreshed and alert if you get more sleep. That could definitely be an argument that would strengthen Selena's. B, oversleeping can make you feel fatigued. This is actually opposite to what Selena's trying to say, so not B. C, waking up early is good for your health and well-being. This is not really mentioned anywhere, that waking up early is actually good for you. And D, birds are always awake and alert when they wake up. So whilst they do mention birds here, that is not the main point of Selena's argument, and it's not mentioned anywhere that birds are more awake and alert when they wake up. So the most correct option that would actually strengthen Selena's argument would be A. So now let's move on to the next question. Question 3. If you want to excel in basketball, you must have talent and hard work. If this is true, which one of these statements must also be true? A, if you have talent but do not work hard, you can still excel in basketball. So this does not support the statement, as the statement says that you must both have talent and hard work in order to excel in basketball. So A is not true. B, if you do not play basketball, you must not have worked hard and have no talent. So the statement does not explicitly say anything about not playing basketball. So you can obviously have still worked hard and have talent in other things and not excelled in basketball. So B is not correct as well. C, if you work hard, then you can be talented at basketball. Okay, so that's also not supported by the statement, as hard work and talented are not the same thing, and you cannot work hard to become talented. Talent is something that you naturally have. And D, if you have talent, then you can excel in basketball if you work hard enough. So that statement is supported by the initial statement there, so that would be the true statement. So D is the answer for question 3. Moving on to question 4. Shown below are 3 shapes. Which of the following pieces can be created by combining the 3 small shapes? Okay, so let's look, zoom in a little. So for shape A, can we make that shape out of the three smaller shapes that we have? Well, just by looking at it straight away, we can see that this section here is a lot thicker than the shape given in the three smaller shapes. So it's not likely we could make shape A. So A is not correct. Let's see B. B. So we have the initial rectangle, but again, the rectangle and the triangles could not combine to make B because we would need two separate triangles for that. So not B. Let's look at C. C. Again, we don't have the large rectangle here in shape C, so that would not work. And now let's look at D. So if we were to visualize and rotate this triangle, so it could be on its side, we would see that it would still not reach the full length of this bigger rectangle. However, if we were to put the smaller rectangle on top of the big rectangle, it would form D. So D would be the answer. That would be what the three smaller shapes could combine into to make one large shape. So the answer would be D for 4. For question 5, at the end of each semester, students need to achieve an overall score of 80 to pass. They're given a score for the practical component and a score for the theory component, which add up. The practical and theory component are scored out of 50 each. John says he obtained 36 for his practical and he needs at least 44 in his theory to pass this semester, whilst Paul said that he obtained 25 for his practical and that there's no way he can pass this semester. If the information in the box is true, whose reasoning is correct? So let's determine that each student needs an overall of 80 and each component is marked out of 50. Okay, so John obtained 36 for his practical. That means he needs a 44 to at least get 80. So let's see if this is correct. So 80 minus 36 does in fact equal 44. That means he does need a score of 44 to pass. So far, John is correct. Paul says he obtained a 25 and that there's no way for him to pass this semester. So for his practical, that was marked out of 50. And for his theory, the maximum amount of marks that he could get is 50. So 50 plus 35 equals 45, which means that he does not pass because he needs at least a score of 80. So both of the boys' reasoning is correct. That means that C is the answer for there, both Paul and John. Now let's move on to question 6. The children, Jay, Seth, Anthony, Anna, and Tony, are all in one family. Jay is 3 years younger than Anthony. Seth is 1 year older than Anna. Jay and Anna are twins. Anna is 7 years old. Tony is not the oldest child. Only one of the following sentences is true. Which is it? Okay, so let's try to make a little timeline of from youngest to oldest, which of the children, in what position each children are in. So, Jay is 3 years younger than Anthony. So Jay is younger than Anthony. Seth is 1 year older than Anna. And Jay and Anna are twins. So that means Jay and Anna are the same age because they are twins. So that means they're born at the same time. Jay and Anna. And we also know that Seth is 1 year older than Anna. So Seth would go here. Anna is 7 years old. So 7 years. And Tony is not the oldest child. Which of the following is true? Okay, so we also know that Jay is 3 years younger than Anthony. So 7 plus 3 is 10. And Seth is 1 year older than Anna. so that means Seth would be 8. So A, all the children are older than 8 or older. This is not true. Jay and Anna are 7. B, Anthony is the oldest child in the family. Yep, that looks like that B is correct, but let's just go through the rest to make sure. Jay is 8 years old. Jay is not. Jay is 7. D, Anthony is 3 years older than Seth. So Anthony is actually only 2 years older than Seth. So B would be the correct answer for number 6. Let's move on to question 7. Okay. A farmer has 176 female cows. This year, 147 of them had kids. None of them had more than 2 kids. 182 kids have been born altogether. How many cows have had only 1 kid? The best way to attempt this question is through trial and error. So let's go through option A. So option A is saying that we will have 108 cows that only have 1 kid. So since 147 cows had kids, we'll minus the 108 that only had 1 kid, and that will equal 33. Now that 33 cows that had kids would have had 2 kids, because the only option that if a female cow did have a kid, it would be either they had 1 kid or 2 kids, because none of them had more than 2. So 33 cows had 2 kids, which equals 66, right? So that means we have 66 cows and plus 108, because 108 cows had 1 child. So 66 plus 108 equals 174, which is not the correct answer. We want 182. So now let's try with B. So we have 147 minus 99 cows this time, which equals 48 cows. So 48 cows had 2 kids, which means there would be 96 cows. 96 plus 99 single kids equals 195, which again is not 182. That means we have too many. So now C, let's try C. 147 minus 112 equals 35. 35 times 2 equals 70. 70 plus 112 equals 182, which is our answer. So that means that the cows that only had 1 kid is 112. Now let's move on to question 8. An average adult needs to eat at least 2 cups of fruit per day as part of a healthy eating pattern. Raphael says that she can drink 2 cups of juice instead of eating 2 fruits each day. Which of these statements, if true, strengthens Raphael's argument? Now, A, juice can sometimes contain more vitamins than the fruit itself. So yes, that would actually support Raphael's argument, because she's saying that instead of eating 2 fruits or 2 cups of fruit each day, she can just drink it. So if she were to do that, she would actually get more vitamins, so therefore she would still be part of a healthy eating pattern. So A could be correct. B, some nutrients are lost from fruit when they are turned into juice. So that would actually not support Raphael's argument. So not B. C, juice can be quite acidic and full of sugar. That will also not support Raphael's argument, because it's not saying that that contributes to a healthy eating pattern. And D, juice tastes much sweeter than the fruit itself. And again, that's not saying that the juice makes the fruit healthier. So the best answer there would be A. So now let's move on to question 9. In the shooting competition, during the school fair, prizes are given out to the players who finish first, second, and third, and to anyone who gets at least 2 3-pointers. Isabel, well, I know that one player scored 3 3-pointers this year, so that means that 4 players will get prizes. Which of the following sentences shows the mistake Isabel has made? So let's do this through process of elimination. A, that the player did not score exactly 2 3-pointers. This is not true. They scored 3 3-pointers. B, the player who scored 3 3-pointers might have finished first, second, or third. This is possible because right now Isabel is assuming that the person that scored 3 3-pointers actually came fourth. So that means there's 4 prizes. However, if they were to come first, second, or third, there may be more or less prizes. C, we do not know how many players were in the competition. This doesn't really matter. It only matters about what scores they get. And D, inexperienced players might find it harder to shoot 3-pointers. And this also doesn't really matter in terms of the prizes. So the most correct answer here would be B. Let's move on to question 10 now. I have used 4 identical tiles to make a pattern. The center of 4 tiles is missing. Using the same orientation as diagram above, what is the pattern that is covered by the black rectangles? Okay, so we can see from here that each tile has a rounded side of a square, a star, a triangle, and a diamond. So let's look at each of these tiles and see what is missing. So for the top right hand square, they are missing a star. So that means we would assume that the top one is a star, so A and C. So the answer is either A or C. And for the bottom right square, we are missing a diamond. So the answer for this question would be A. Let's move on to question 11. Lewis, Darren, and Ryan have 20 dumplings each. They take it in turns to roll a die. If the number rolled is even, then that person receives the number of dumplings shown on the face of die from each of the other 2 players. If the number rolled is odd, then that person must give the number of dumplings shown on the face of the die to each of the other 2 people. Lewis rolls a 3, Darren rolls a 4. If the friends end up with 15, 36, and 9 dumplings respectively, which number does Ryan roll? Okay, so we should start from the beginning. So we have Lewis. Oh, let me grab the pencil. So we have Lewis, Darren, and Ryan, and they both have 20 dumplings each. So they all start with 20 dumplings. Okay, Lewis then rolls a 3. So that is an odd number. That means that he needs to give 3 dumplings to Ryan and Darren each. So Darren will get 23 and Ryan will get 23. So 3 times 2 equals 6. 20 minus 6 is 14. And then after that, Darren will roll a 4. So that is an even number. So that means Darren will receive 4 dumplings from each, both Lewis and Ryan. So 4 times 2 is 8. So 23 plus 8 is 31. And Lewis with 4 to Darren, that means 14 minus 4, which equals 10. And 23 minus 4 equals 19. And what we need to work out is what number does Ryan roll? Okay, so now we can look at here because that will give us the final dumpling count. So Ryan actually has 9 dumplings left after the last round. So that means he lost 10 dumplings. So if we divide 10 by 2, that's 5. So we can assume that Ryan actually rolled 5 because that is an odd number, and that would mean that he would have to give 5 dumplings each to Lewis and Darren, which would make his total 9. Okay, so if we assume that he rolled a 5, he would have 9 dumplings left. 31 plus 5 equals 36, and 10 plus 5 is 15, which is what we got here. So the number that Ryan rolled would be 5, which is D. For question 12, 6 houses stand together in a row. One person lives in each house. Each person likes a different sport. They all use different forms of transport. We also know that we have a bunch of different conditions but the question we're trying to answer is who lives on the right end of the row. So let's look at the conditions. First, we have 6 houses, so let's draw that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for a bit of a visual aid. So Brad likes basketball and lives next to Isaac, who is on the left end of the row and drives a sedan. So Isaac would be here, and then Brad next to him. Yong rides a bicycle, and Yong loves ping pong. The person who likes ping pong lives in the middle of the row. So we know that Yong will either live here or here, because those are the 2 middle houses. Amelia drives a motorcycle and does not like soccer. The person who likes swimming does not have a truck. Eva likes basketball. She lives next to Amelia and 2 houses from Yong. Okay, so in order to live 2 houses from Yong, because he lives somewhere in the middle there, Yong would have to be here, and Eva would be 2 houses from him. So Eva would be here at the end, and Amelia would live next to her. So here. So we already have our answer actually. Who lives on the right end of the row? That would be Eva. So our answer there would be Eva. So next we have question 13. There are 10 students in the mathematics class. They take 3 tests, each one out of 100. The results of the first 2 tests are shown below. A prize is awarded to the student with the highest combined total score from the 3 tests. If 2 students are tied for the highest score, nobody gets a prize. As the scores currently stand, 1 student can be sure to win this prize if a high enough score is achieved in the final test. What is the minimum score in the final test that will guarantee this student a prize? So what we need to do is find the top 2 students. So the 2 students that have the highest combined scores right now of test 1 and test 2. So if we look through that, we can find that Blair, with a score of 88 plus 75, will get 163, and also Lucy, with a score of 60 plus 92, will give us 152. And if you go through each student, you'll find that Blair and Lucy have the highest scores out of all of the students. And what we need to do is determine what minimum score in the final test will guarantee this student the prize. And this student is referring to Blair, because Blair right now has the highest score. So if Lucy gets 100% in the final test, that means she gets 252. That would mean that Blair would need to get 253, because in order to get the prize, you need to have a higher score than Lucy. Blair needs to have a higher score than Lucy. So what we'll do is 253 minus 163 will give us 90. Therefore, the minimum score in the final test that will guarantee Blair the prize will be 90, which is A. Now let's move on to the next question. 14. Gerald said, my dentist tells me that chewing ice is very bad for your teeth. It can lead to cracked and chipped teeth. Which one of these statements, if true, most strengthens Gerald's argument? So, chewing ice will make your teeth more resistant to cold. That's not really strengthening Gerald's argument. He's saying that ice is bad for your teeth. So not A. B, if not chewed properly, the ice can become a choking hazard. Now that does relate to Gerald's argument about ice being dangerous. However, we might find a better answer. C, ice has no harmful effects if consumed. So that's definitely not correct, because that's saying that ice is fine. And D, chewing on ice strengthens your jaw muscles. And again, that is not saying ice is bad, but rather that it's a good thing. So out of all of these options, B would be the best option. That would strengthen Gerald's argument. Now let's look at question 15. Each student in the class was asked to come up with sentences to form a story. Derek says, this task is easy. Random words in front of random words make random sentences. Which of the following sentences shows the mistake Derek has made? A, it may be difficult to write down random words. I don't think that is a mistake that Derek has made. He's not really talking about how difficult it would be to write random words. B, some sentences do not have words in them. Well, that's not correct because the definition of a sentence means that there's words in it. C, the random words may not make sense as a sentence when put together. Now that is definitely something that Derek is missing there, because if you put a bunch of random words together, it may not actually make a cohesive, comprehensive sentence. So C is looking good, and D, some of the sentences may be too similar to each other. No, that is not a mistake that Derek has made in his assumption there. So C would be the correct answer there. Moving on to question 16. So this is the view of an object from above. Which of the following is the most realistic view from the side? So we're trying to look for the side profile of this object. So 16, A, we can clearly see that is only one shape, and that wouldn't convey the side view of the object that we see from above. Same as B, it only has two shapes when clearly we see four distinct different shapes. C is definitely a possibility, and also D is definitely a possibility, because if you think about it, this here, the view from the top could either be cylinders, so circular cylinders, or spheres, because both will look like a circle from the top. So if a cylindrical cylinder, that would be a circle from the top, and so would a sphere. And that's what C and D give us. However, we need to take into consideration that we need to find the most realistic view from the side. And if we had two spheres stacked on top of each other, it would likely not stay like that. So D would be the most realistic. Question 17. Chris is attempting to transfer from his current course to a new course. If a student wants to enter the new course and is currently not enrolled in a course, they must take a test as well as attend an interview. If a student is currently in a course, then they only need to pass the test. If they were not in a course, then they either need to get an excellent score on the test or do well in both the interview and the test. Chris failed to get a place in the new course. What must have been the reason? So since Chris is attempting to transfer from his current course to a new course, that means he is currently enrolled in a course already. So if a student is currently enrolled in a course, then they only need to pass the test. So if he failed to get into the new course, this means that he failed the test. So let's look at the options. Chris did not get an excellent score on the test. Yes, that's true. A could be our answer. B, Chris did well on the test but not in the interview. This is not true because he did not need to do an interview. C, Chris did badly on the test and the interview. This is not true because he did not need to do an interview. And D, Chris failed the test. So out of A and D, those two options are correct, but D is more correct. It's much more specific because the student needs to pass the test, and Chris failed to get into the course. That means he failed the test. So D would be the most correct reason for 17. Let's look at question 18. Haig's is a shop at the mall that only sells chocolates. Lydia says, if you see someone who has bought chocolates from the mall, it must be from Haig's. Jane says, if someone has bought a kettle from the mall, then it must not have come from Haig's. If the information in the box is true, whose reasoning is correct? So, Jane is saying that if you have seen someone with chocolates, then it must come from Haig's. However, as you know, in a mall or a shopping centre, there are many places that could sell chocolate. So Lydia's reasoning is not really correct. However, Jane says that if you see someone with a kettle, then it's definitely not from Haig's. which is true because Haigs only sells chocolates. So that would mean B, Jane only. Jane is the only reasoning that is correct. Let's look at question 19 now. The prices for train passes are shown on the table below. I will need to travel by train on the following days of the month. How much is the cheapest valid combination I could use? Okay, so let's look here. So for passes for one day is $5. Passes for 4 consecutive days, that means 4 days in a row, is $10. So that means if we go 10 divided by 4, that is $2.5 per day. Whereas let's look for pass for 7 consecutive days, so 7 days in a row, that's $25. And that would mean 25 divided by 7 is $3.5 per day. Okay, so we need to travel by train for 14 days between the 2nd and the 15th. That means there's only one day that it don't travel, so that means it is 14 consecutive days. As you can see here, there are some gaps between the numbers. So as you can see, so it skips day 4, the 4th day of the month. They also skip the 9th and 10th day of the month and the 12th day of the month, etc. So we need to decide what type of passes we should buy for it to be the cheapest. As we can see here, the combination of 4 consecutive days is the cheapest per day. So if we go 4 times 3, that will give us 12. So 12 days. So 4 times 10, so 12 days. So if we go $10 times 3 will give us $30 plus 2 more days to make it 14 days. So $5 for the 1 day pass times 2 equals 10, and 30 plus 10 equals 40. And that would be the cheapest valid combination that I could use. So the answer here would be B. Let's now move on to 20. Only 2 mammals like spicy foods, human and the tea shrew. Which one of the statements is true? If true, most weakens the above argument. So we want to say that the above statement is not true. A, my dog loves spicy food. This could definitely be a point that weakens the above argument because dogs are animals, and that would assume that dogs could potentially also like spicy foods and humans and the tea shrew are not the only 2 mammals that like spicy food. B, some humans hate spicy food. This doesn't really weaken the above point because although some humans may hate spicy food, some humans may also love spicy food. And it doesn't say anything about other humans, it only specifically talks about some humans. C, all birds love spicy food. Birds are not mammals, they're birds, so that will not weaken the above argument. And D, monkeys hate spicy food. And that, of course, will not weaken the above argument at all. So the statement that most likely to weaken the above is A. My dog loves spicy food. Question 21. If 3 pairs of socks cost as much as 1 shirt, 2 pairs of pants cost as much as 4 pairs of socks, and 2 pairs of shoes cost as much as 1 pair of pants, how many shirts could I exchange for 48 pairs of shoes? Okay, let's call X socks, Y shirt, P pants, and S shoes. If 3 pairs of socks cost as much as 1 shirt, 2 pairs of pants cost as much as 4 pairs of socks, and 2 pairs of shoes cost as much as 1 pair of pants, how many shirts could I exchange for 48 pairs of shoes? So we want 48 shirts, and we want to get X, which is socks. So 2 to 48 is multiplied by 24, correct? Yeah, 24. So P times 24 equals 24P. So we want 24P, which is 2 times 12 will give us 24P. So 4 times 12 will give us 48X. And we want 48X, and we want Y, which is shirts. So 43 times 16 equals 48, so that means 16Y. That means from 48 socks we get 16 shirts. So our answer here is A, 16. Now moving on to question 22. Which shape is a rotation of the one shown below? So here we have a pentagon, so 5 sides. We have a white star at the tip, and then on the right bottom we have a black kind of diamond star shape. So we need to find which rotation is correct. So A is clearly not correct because the black star is on the left bottom, not right. If we look at B, again, it is to the left of the white star, not the right, so that can't be correct. If we look at C, and we look upside down, it is again to the left of the white star, not the right. And if we look at D, the black star is actually on the right of the white star, upside down. So our answer would be D. Question 23. Each person gets a different deal at McDonald's each day. These deals can be different between different people. Kim says, my deal today is a Big Mac for $3. If you also have $3, we can each have a Big Mac for lunch today. Which of the following sentences shows the mistake Kim has made? So A, Kim's friend might not have the same deal as her. Yes, that is the mistake that Kim made because each person may have different deals. So far A is looking most correct. B, there may not be a McDonald's nearby. That is not a mistake Kim is making. C, Kim may not have $3. That's not the mistake Kim is making. And D, Hungry Jack's has a deal with their burger for $2. So that is not related to what Kim's saying either. So A is the mistake Kim is making. 24. In a survey, everyone who liked basketball liked swimming. Everyone who liked swimming liked ping pong, but no one who liked swimming liked running. James, Mary, Gwen, and Alice all took part of the survey. Based on the above information, which of the following must be true? So let's just draw out a diagram to show this. So everyone who liked basketball liked swimming. Everyone who liked swimming liked ping pong, but no one who liked swimming liked running. So liked, disliked. A, if James likes ping pong, he also likes swimming. So that's not true because it stated here that everyone that likes swimming liked ping pong, but not necessarily the other way around. Not everyone that liked ping pong necessarily likes swimming. So A is not true. If Mary does not like running, she does not like ping pong. So again, that's also not true because here we see that running and ping pong have no relation. We are not given a relationship between running and ping pong. So B is not true. C, if Alice likes baseball, if Alice likes basketball, she does not like running. So let's look at the relationship. So everyone that likes basketball likes swimming, and everyone that likes swimming does not like running. So C is true. Because since Alice likes basketball, that means she also loves swimming, and everyone that loves swimming hates running. So C is true. If Gwen does not like basketball, she does not like running. So that's not true, as we established in C. If Gwen liked basketball, she would not like running. So for 24, the answer is C. So 25, Brian has a deck of cards, but he is not sure how many cards he has. If he arranges the cards in groups of 4, he has 3 left over. If he arranges them in groups of 3, he has none left over, and there are 2 left over when he arranges them in group of 5. Brian does not have more than 30 cards, so how many does he have? So let's do a trial and error. So for A, 27. So if he has 27 cards and he arranged them in groups of 4, so that means divided by 4, he would get 27 divided by 4 equals 6, remainder 3. So 6 times 4 equals 24, and the difference between 27 and 24 is 3. So far, that's correct, because he has 3 remainder, 3 left over. If he arranges 27 in groups of 3, so that would equal 9, with no remainder. And that's correct as well. If he arranges them in group of 5, that would equal 5 remainder 2. So 5 times 5 equals 25, and 27 minus 25 equals 2. So he would have 2 left over, and that's also correct. So the answer here would be A. Now let's look at question 26. Australia has some of the best swimmers because the whole country is surrounded by water. Which of the following, if true, most weakens the above argument? A. Other island countries do not have as many successful swimmers as Australia. Yes, this would weaken the argument because it's saying that the reason why Australia is so good at swimming is because it's surrounded by water. And if other island countries don't have as many successful swimmers as Australia, that indicate other reasons that Australia is good at swimming, not just because of its location as an island country. B. Swimming at beaches provides excellent training for swimmers. That would actually do the opposite of weaken the argument. That would actually aid the argument. C. Swimming is taught in all schools in Australia. So this one doesn't really have anything to do with Australia being an island country, so that wouldn't weaken or aid the argument. So not C. And D. Most of Australia's best swimmers come from Australia's seaside, and that would actually aid the argument. So A would be the answer there, because that's the argument that would most likely weaken the statement above. Moving on to question 27. Anybody who was not able to perform in the January musical will be guaranteed a performing spot in the concert at the end of the year if they want to. Luke says, I did not take part of the musical, so I will definitely be in the concert this year. Cameron says, I was already in the musical this year, so I will not be able to perform in the concert. If the information in the box is true, whose reasoning is correct? So Luke's saying because he was not part of the musical, he will definitely be in the musical this year, so that is true. So far Luke's reasoning is correct. Cameron is saying because he's already been in the musical this year, he would not be able to perform at the concert. However, this is not necessarily correct. Cameron would just not be guaranteed a spot in the musical for the end of the year. So the reasoning that is correct is Luke's. So the answer would be A here. Moving on to question 28. Two different shapes are shown below. Which of the following arrangements cannot be made by putting these shapes together? So for A, we are actually able to make this shape. So if we were to rotate the triangle, so this side faces is like this, we could get to the pointy end of the triangle. So if we were to rotate it and put it onto the rectangle, we would get A, and the same as C if we flipped it. So A and C are very possible. If we were to put the triangle on top of the rectangle, we would get B, and D is the only one that is not possible. So the answer here would be D. Christine's cat is larger than Alex's cat, but smaller than Mary's cat. Dom's cat is the same size as Zoe's cat, which is larger than Alex's cat, but smaller than Christine's. Who has the largest cat and who has the smallest cat? Okay, so let's write this out, draw out, make a diagram so we can visualize it a bit better. So Christine's cat is larger than Alex's cat. So Christine's cat is larger than Alex's cat, but it is smaller than Mary's cat. Dom's cat is the same size as Zoe's cat, which is larger than Alex's cat, but smaller than Christine. So Dom's cat is the same size as Zoe's, which is larger than Alex's, but smaller than Christine's. So who has the largest cat? The largest cat would go to Mary, and the smallest cat would go to Alex. So Mary and Alex. So the answer there would be C. Let's move to question 30. Ethan is a dentist. He has patients booked Monday to Friday. He's seeing Lauren one day before Elliot. Max is booked 2 days after Tyler, who is 1 day after Elliot, and 1 day before Hubert. Finally, Vicky is scheduled 3 days after Elliot. If Lauren is coming on Monday, who has Ethan double booked? So again, like the above question, we will draw it out. So he is seeing Lauren one day before Elliot. Max is booked 2 days after Tyler, who is 1 day after Elliot. So Tyler is 1 day after Elliot, and Max is booked 2 days. So 2 days after Tyler. So Max is here. And Tyler, who is 1 day after Elliot and 1 day before Hubert. So Tyler is 1 day before Hubert, so Hubert would go here. Finally, Vicky is scheduled 3 days after Elliot. So we've got Elliot, and then we've got 1, 2, 3 days. So Vicky would go here. 3 days after Elliot. So if Lauren is coming on Monday, so Monday Lauren is here, who has Ethan double booked? So Ethan has double booked Vicky and for Max, Vicky and Max. So our answer there would be D. D. Moving to question 31. Elise wants to buy 6 apples. There are 4 shops that sell the apples she wants. The shops, the price of the apples, and any special offers are shown in the table. So there are all the offers and the normal price of apples. Elise wants to buy all her apples from the same shop and to spend as little as possible. If the specials can be repeated, which shop can Elise buy her apples from? So for shop A, normal price of an apple is $6, and we can buy 2 and get the third one for half price. So if we want to buy 6 apples, we would get the first 2, which is $12, and the third one for half price, which would be $3. So 12 plus 3 is 15, and if we multiply that by 2, because we want 6 apples, we would get $30 for 6 apples. We look at B, $4, and we have no specials, so 4 times 6 is $24. we have $5 for an apple for shop C. Buy 3 and get a fourth one free. So if we buy 3, we'll get $15 and the fourth one will be free. So $15 for 4 and then plus 2. So 2 times 5 is 10. So we would get $25 for 6 apples. And lastly, D, which is $5. And we can buy 1 and get a second one for half price. So it will be buy 1, $5 plus 2.5 for half price. So $7.5 for 2. So if we multiply that by 3 to get 6 apples, we would get $22.50. So the cheapest apples will be shop D. So D is our answer. Let's move on to question 32. More and more people are starting to work more hours, often not being able to spend a lot of time with their children at home. Which of the following statements, if true, most strengthens the above argument? So, our argument is that since people are working more hours, they don't have as much time to spend with their children. So A, the hiring of babysitters has increased over the years. So yes, this could strengthen that argument because it's saying that babysitters are having more hours and they're being hired more over the years. That means that parents, therefore, have been spending less time with their children and instead hiring babysitters to look after their children. So A could be the answer. But let's check the other ones first. B, parents appreciate bonding with their children more. That would actually weaken the above argument, because if that was true, they would spend more time with their children rather than less. C, more workers are taking days off from work. Again, that would actually weaken the argument, saying that workers are spending more time with their children. And D, children are starting to work at an earlier age. And that really isn't relevant to the argument at all. So C would be the answer there. Question 33. 5 cars are leaving the meeting point at the same time. Car C arrives before cars A and B, but after E. Car D arrives before car B, but after car A. Which car is the last to arrive at the destination? So let's draw this out so we get a better understanding of what we're looking at. So car C arrives before A and B, but we're not sure what order A and B are at this moment, but after E. So E is in front of car C. Car D arrives before, so car D arrives before car B, so B would be here, but after car A. And the reason why these B, D, and A are after C is because car C arrives before car A. So which car is the last to arrive at the destination? And the answer here would be car B. So B would be the answer here. Let's move on to question 34. So 100 people were asked to choose their favorite ice cream flavor. The results are shown below. What is the flavor represented by A in the pie chart? So we have out of 100. So this whole pie chart is out of 100. And we've got 54 people as the biggest section. So that would be here, 54 people. And then we have the smallest section with 6%. And we can see here we are left with 17 and 23. So the bigger section out of the two left would be A, section A, and I would say that that would be 23%, and then the leftover slightly smaller section is 17%. So A would be 23%, which is the chocolate. So our answer here would be A. Now let's move on to 35. Karen says, there is no point of wearing a mask if I am not sick. The only use of a mask is to keep the coughs and sneezes contained. Which of these statements, if true, most weakens the above argument? A, masks do not completely block everything from going in. So that doesn't weaken the argument, that actually supports the argument. So not A. B, masks have poor aesthetics and limit freedom. Again, that does not weaken the above argument. That actually kind of supports it. C, wearing a mask can make it harder to breathe. Again, that's not weakening the argument, that's kind of supporting it. And D, a mask acts as a barrier, preventing disease from entering the mouth and nose. So that is the only one that does weaken the above argument, saying that masks should be worn. So D is the answer there. 26. In a pet store, there are only 5 dogs. Dog 1 is heavy with red fur. Dog 2 is male and light with the same color as dog 3, who has yellow fur and wears a cap. Dog 4 is one of the 3 female dogs, and dog 5 wears sunglasses and is heavy. All the dogs wear caps, and at least one of the females wear sunglasses. A light red fur dog wearing a cap is the oldest in the group. Who can it be? So can it be dog 1? No, because dog 1 is heavy, not light. Can it be dog 2? Dog 2 is the same color as dog 3, who is yellow, has yellow fur. So dog 2 and dog 3 cannot be the dog because the dog has red fur. And dog 4 is one of the 3 female dogs and does wear a cap because all the dogs wear a cap. So out of all those options, dog 4 is the most likely one to be light and red furred. So question 37. There are 24 apples on my apple tree. 27 are red and the rest are green. I know that 38 of the apples have worms in them, so I cannot eat them. What is the maximum number of green apples I can eat? Okay, so we have 64 apples and 27 are red, and that means the rest are green, so that would give us 37 green. And we know that 38 have worms. So 38 have worms and cannot be eaten. What is the maximum number of green apples? So we want to maximize the number of green apples to be eaten. That means all the red apples cannot be eaten. So 38 minus 27 equals 11. So that means if all of the red apples had worms in them and we couldn't eat them, in order to maximize the green apples, only 11 green apples would have worms. So the number of green apples that wouldn't have worms would be given to us by 37, which is the number of green apples, minus 11, which will give us 26. So the maximum of green apples that can be eaten would be 26, and that would give us D. So now we're going on to question 38. To qualify for the next stage of the race, a swimmer must be one of the 2 fastest swimmers or be faster than 1 minute for that stroke. Nick says, I know that there are 2 swimmers that were faster than 1 minute this year. Therefore, there must be 4 swimmers going to the next round. Which of the following sentences shows the mistake Nick has made? So A, we have the fastest 2 swimmers were the ones that swam faster than 1 minute. So yes, this is true. And if there were actually 4 swimmers, like Nick assumed, that would go into the next round, that would mean that all of those 4 swimmers would have swam faster than the 1 minute. However, it's clear that there were only 2 swimmers that swam faster than 1 minute this year, and those 2 swimmers were also the ones that swam the fastest. So A is correct, and that would be the mistake Nick has made. B, 3 swimmers usually go into the next round in previous years, so this is not related to this year, so it doesn't make a difference. C, the total amount of swimmers is unknown. That's not really related to the question. And D, it may be difficult to swim faster than 1 minute. And again, that's not really related again. So A is the answer there. Question 39. If Paul has $8 more, he would have twice as much as Andrew. If he has $5 less, he would have the same amount as Andrew. How much money does Andrew have? So let's make a few equations here. So if Paul had $8 more, he would have twice as much as Andrew. So he would have Andrew times 2. If he had $5 less, so if he had $5 less, he would have the same amount as Andrew. So A. So how much does Andrew have? So let's make this into an equation with only p's. So since a equals p minus 5, we can substitute that into our first equation. So p plus 8 equals 2a, which is p minus 5 here. So let's expand that. P plus 8 equals 2p minus 10. Let's bring p to the other side here. So we get p, so 2p minus p equals p, and we bring 10 to the other side, so we go 8 plus 10 equals 18. So p equals 18. And if we insert it into this equation, so 18 minus 5 equals Andrew. So Andrew equals 13. So Andrew would have $13, which is B. Now moving on to our final question. There are 3 shapes shown below here. What shape can be made by combining the 3 shapes above? So A, I don't think you could make with those 3 shapes, because if you were to combine the first shape and the last shape, you are able to make this rectangle by flipping the shape this way to create this shape. And you could create a full rectangle. However, you wouldn't have anything to do with this shape. If we look at B, we could actually make the shape, because we could again make the rectangle with the first and third shapes and then put the second shape onto the left side to make this part. So B we could do. So B is probably our answer. Let's take a quick look at C and D. So C, that isn't possible because we don't have we have nowhere to put the second and third shapes, because C is just the first shape but flipped. And D, that is also not possible to make the end shape here. So our answer would be B. And that's the end of the test. So thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next video.